In the darkest corners of the world, prisons exist so notorious that surviving them becomes a battle. Inmates face brutal environments that seem designed to break their spirits. From overcrowding to severe violence and inhumane conditions, life behind bars in these prisons is a nightmare. Every day is a battle to stay alive and hold on to a shred of humanity. So, grab your flashlight and let's delve into the dark corridors of the worst women's prisons in the world. Patarei Prison, Estonia. Nestled along the rugged coastline of Tallinn, Estonia, Patarei Prison is a place that seems to have stepped out of a chilling horror movie. Once a formidable military base, it later became notorious as one of the world's worst prisons for female inmates. Originally constructed in the 19th century as a sea fortress to defend Tallinn from naval attacks, Patarei Prison took on a sinister reputation by the 1920s. Its thick stone walls and barred windows were designed to intimidate, and they certainly did. Even visitors felt a chilling atmosphere upon entering its confines. Patarei Prison became infamous for its harsh treatment of female inmates, many of whom were political prisoners during the Soviet era. The cold was a constant threat, seeping into the very bones of the prisoners. Former inmates recounted how frost would form on the cell walls during winter, forcing women to huddle together for warmth. They were often left with only thin blankets, offering little protection from the biting cold. Hypothermia and respiratory infections were common due to the lack of adequate heating. Overcrowding was another major issue at Patarei Prison. Initially designed for around 1,200 inmates, it often housed over 4,200 individuals at its peak. Inmates were crammed into cramped quarters, sometimes sharing cells with up to 40 others. These deplorable conditions led to a host of health problems and mental anguish. Many believe that Patarei Prison is haunted by the spirits of those who suffered within its walls. Visitors often report strange occurrences, such as cold drafts in empty rooms, whispers echoing down hallways, and an overwhelming sense of sorrow. Whether you believe in the supernatural or not, the prison's dark history and chilling atmosphere leave a lasting impression. Let's shine a light on the darkness. Subscribe to our channel to stay updated. Together, we can make a difference. Julia Tutwiler Prison, Alabama, USA. Behind the towering fences of Julia Tutwiler Prison lies a reality few dare to imagine. This is not just a prison, it's a place of unimaginable suffering. Located in Wetumpka, Alabama, Julia Tutwiler Prison opened its doors in 1942. Named after a reformer who advocated for better prison conditions, it ironically became a symbol of abuse and neglect, making it one of the worst women's prisons in the United States. Originally designed to house around 550 inmates, Tutwiler has often been overcrowded, sometimes holding nearly 1,000 individuals. This overcrowding has led to a crisis of basic human rights. In 2013, Mother Jones magazine listed Tutwiler as one of the top 10 worst prisons in America, citing widespread sexual abuse and inadequate medical care. The Equal Justice Initiative, EJI, uncovered disturbing evidence of sexual violence within the prison's walls. Interviews with over 50 inmates revealed a pattern of guard-on-inmate abuse, including instances of sexual assault that resulted in pregnancies. The EJI's findings led to a lawsuit against the state of Alabama, which was found to be violating the Eighth Amendment by failing to protect inmates from sexual abuse. Inmates at Tutwiler face constant threats to their safety. They often fear retaliation for reporting abuse. One inmate described how her locker, containing precious letters and photos from her children, was taken away as punishment for speaking out. The prison's aging infrastructure contributes to poor living conditions and inadequate healthcare. Inmates have reported delayed or denied medical treatment, leading to serious health consequences. The lack of mental health support exacerbates the suffering of inmates. Many enter the prison already traumatized by past experiences of abuse, and the harsh conditions within the prison walls can further erode their mental well-being. Pregnant inmates face particularly dire circumstances, as the prison lacks facilities for infants. Mothers are forced to give birth and then immediately separate from their newborns. The stories emerging from Julia Tutwiler Prison serve as a stark reminder of the human cost of incarceration. The women imprisoned there are not mere statistics. They are individuals who have suffered greatly, The legacy of abuse and neglect at Tutwiler demands urgent action and systemic reform. Tadmor Prison, Syria. The mere mention of Tadmor Prison, nestled in the arid Syrian desert near Palmyra, evokes feelings of fear and despair. Often referred to as hell on earth, it has gained notoriety for its brutal treatment of prisoners, particularly women. Initially built as a military base under French rule, Tadmor later became a notorious prison used to detain political dissidents during the 1980s under the regime of Hafez al-Assad. It became a symbol of tyranny and ruthlessness, a place where the spirit of prisoners was systematically broken. The conditions within Tadmor are horrific. Inmates are subjected to constant psychological torment and physical abuse. Torture techniques include brutal beatings, electric shocks, and degrading acts like forced ingestion of foreign objects. The prison's courtyard, which should offer a respite, is often used as a site for arbitrary executions. Female detainees endure particularly harsh treatment. They are frequently subjected to solitary confinement, sexual assault, and forced confessions. The psychological and physical scars inflicted upon these women are profound. Despite the regime's efforts to suppress information about Tadmor, stories of the horrors within its walls have begun to emerge. Kwang Central Prison, Thailand. Imagine your first day behind bars involving being shackled with heavy iron chains. This is the harsh reality for inmates entering Kwang Central Prison, often dubbed the Bangkok Hilton. Don't be fooled by the nickname. This is no luxurious hotel. Kwang is a notorious prison known for its harsh treatment of inmates, particularly those on death row or serving long sentences. Upon arrival, inmates are immediately shackled, a practice that was only recently abolished for most prisoners. The conditions within the prison are appalling, with overcrowding, poor sanitation, and inadequate medical care. Food is scarce and often inedible. The prison's infamous chit system means that only wealthy inmates can afford decent meals, while others are left to survive on meager rations. Inmates are subjected to physical and psychological abuse, with reports of beatings, torture, and sexual assault. Women in Kwang face unique challenges. They are often isolated and vulnerable, with limited access to support and protection. The harsh conditions and lack of basic necessities have led to significant mental and physical health problems among inmates. The 1989 miniseries Bangkok Hilton dramatized the struggles of a woman imprisoned for drug trafficking, shedding light on the harsh realities faced by female inmates in Thai prisons. While there have been some efforts to improve conditions at Kwang, much work remains to be done. Despite its notorious reputation, Kwang has become a subject of fascination for many. Its dark history and harsh conditions have been explored in numerous documentaries and articles. Perhaps it is our morbid curiosity that draws us to such places, a reminder of the human capacity for both cruelty and resilience. Antanimora Prison, Madagascar. Nestled in the heart of the capital, Antananarivo, Antanimora Prison is a stark reminder of the harsh realities of incarceration. This under-resourced institution is one of the most overcrowded and unsanitary women's prisons in the world. Inmates sleep so tightly together that many are forced to lay their feet on others' heads. Designed to hold 800 inmates, it has been known to house over 4,000 detainees. The situation is further exacerbated by the high number of pre-trial detainees, who often spend extended periods behind bars without trial. One such case involved a 33-year-old woman, Demoa, who was arrested on charges of corruption and same-sex relations. Despite being acquitted, she remained imprisoned for an additional 10 months. The prison's poor conditions contribute to a host of health problems. Inadequate sanitation and nutrition lead to malnutrition, infectious diseases, and a high mortality rate. Inmates often receive only one meal a day, typically a meager portion of boiled cassava. Recognizing the dire situation, the Malagasy government has taken steps to address overcrowding and improve living conditions. However, significant challenges remain. International organizations like Amnesty International have called for reforms, including reducing pre-trial detention and improving prison conditions. Antanimora Prison serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of mass incarceration and the urgent need for prison reform. By addressing issues such as overcrowding, inadequate healthcare, and the overuse of pre-trial detention, it is possible to create a more humane and just penal system. Qanater Prison, Egypt. Behind the iron bars of Qanater Prison, a world of forgotten women exists. Located in Qanater al-Khairia on the outskirts of Cairo, Egypt, it is the largest women's prison in the country, and a stark reminder of the challenges faced by female inmates. Established in the early 1990s, Qanater has been the subject of numerous human rights reports highlighting its harsh conditions. Overcrowding, poor ventilation, and inadequate sanitation are rampant. Cells designed for 500 inmates often house over 1,000, making life unbearable. The lack of basic necessities, such as proper toilets and sanitary products, has severe consequences for the inmates' health and dignity. Women are forced to improvise menstrual hygiene products, leading to infections and humiliation. The prison's restrictive environment limits inmates' contact with the outside world. Family visits are infrequent and brief, exacerbating feelings of isolation and despair. The lack of rehabilitation programs and educational opportunities further hinders their prospects for reintegration into society. Human rights organizations have documented the harrowing conditions within Qanater Prison. Inmates have reported experiencing physical and psychological abuse, as well as malnutrition and inadequate medical care. The stories of these women highlight the urgent need for prison reform in Egypt. Addressing issues such as overcrowding, poor sanitation, and the lack of rehabilitation programs is crucial to improving the lives of incarcerated women and ensuring their human rights are respected. Kach Prison, Iran. Kach Prison, a harsh desert facility in southeastern Iran, is the country's only women's prison. Originally an industrial livestock facility, it now houses over 1,700 women in conditions that are both inhumane and degrading. Overcrowding is a severe problem, with inmates sharing cramped cells designed for far fewer people. Basic necessities such as clean water and adequate sanitation are often lacking. The prison's medical facilities are inadequate, leaving inmates vulnerable to various health issues. Many suffer from malnutrition due to poor quality and quantity of food. The harsh desert climate exacerbates the suffering of the inmates. The relentless heat, combined with poor ventilation, makes it difficult to endure. Access to clean drinking water is often limited, forcing inmates to rely on contaminated water sources. Human rights organizations have documented the deplorable conditions at Kach Prison. The lack of adequate healthcare, overcrowding, and poor sanitation have led to serious health problems among the inmates. The psychological impact of such harsh conditions is also significant, with many women experiencing anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues. The Iranian government must take urgent steps to address the crisis at Kach Prison. Indiana Women's Prison. Established in 1873, the Indiana Women's Prison was a pioneering institution, recognizing the need for separate facilities for women. The prison's history is intertwined with significant legal and social reforms. One notable case involved Paula Cooper, a 15-year-old girl sentenced to death. Her case sparked international outrage and led to significant changes in juvenile justice laws, including raising the minimum age for the death penalty. Another significant figure is Sarah Jo Pender, who escaped from Rockville Correctional Facility. Her story highlights the challenges faced by incarcerated women, including mental health issues. While the prison's initial focus was on rehabilitation, recent years have seen concerns about conditions, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Inmates reported inhumane conditions, including overcrowding, lack of access to basic necessities, and limited outdoor time. Despite these challenges, the Indiana Women's Prison remains a vital institution. It is essential to address the issues raised by inmates and advocates to ensure a safe and humane environment for all. Bohol Prison. Bohol Prison in Turkey is a correctional facility for women, including those convicted of serious crimes and political dissent. The prison is notorious for its overcrowding and poor conditions. Designed to accommodate a specific number of inmates, Bohol frequently exceeds its capacity, leading to cramped and unsanitary living conditions. Inmates often share cells with multiple others, with little to no privacy. Reports of abuse and mistreatment are common at Bohol Prison. Inmates have described instances of physical abuse by guards, often for minor infractions. The lack of mental health services exacerbates the suffering of many inmates who often enter the prison with pre-existing trauma. The harsh conditions at Bohol prison highlight the urgent need for prison reform in Turkey. Addressing issues such as overcrowding, abuse, and inadequate mental health care is crucial to ensuring the well-being of incarcerated women. Before we delve into the top story, let's take a moment to acknowledge the silent struggle of countless female inmates. In dimly lit corridors behind prison walls, women endure harsh conditions that strip them of their basic human rights. They are more than just statistics. They are individuals with unique stories and experiences. Every woman deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of her circumstances. Hongjiang Women's Prison. Hidden in the remote northeast of China lies Hongjiang Women's Prison, a place often referred to as the Cemetery of Falun Gong Ladies. This notorious facility is known for its harsh conditions and brutal treatment of inmates, particularly those who practice Falun Gong, a spiritual discipline. Inmates at Hongjiang endure a relentless regime of forced labor, sleep deprivation, and physical and psychological abuse. Falun Gong practitioners are subjected to particularly severe treatment, including isolation, beatings, and forced indoctrination. Despite international condemnation and calls for reform, the Chinese government continues to suppress religious freedom and human rights. Hongjiang Prison serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing persecution of Falun Gong practitioners and other marginalized groups in China. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoy the video, please let us know by clicking the like button, do share, write a comment, and don't forget to subscribe.